Hello and good day. My name is Eric Miskell with EMSNOW, and welcome to this edition of EMSNOW Up Close. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Kathy Mazet, who is the Chief Operating Officer and member of the Board of Directors with the ICAPE Group. Kathy is joining us from Hong Kong today, and she has been with the ICAPE Group for almost 2 decades, or over 2 decades, I think. So Kathy, welcome. It's a pleasure to meet you and to speak with you today. And why don't I give you an opportunity to just introduce yourself and the ICAPE Group briefly.
Sure, Eric. First of all, thank you for inviting me. It's my pleasure to be here with you. Well, just a few words about ICAPE Group, maybe. ICAPE Group was created in 1999, and today we are one of the world leaders for the distribution of the circuit boards and custom-made electronic and mechanic parts. We are specialized in high mix, low volume, and quick turn services between the international customers and suppliers based in Asia, well, especially in China. Well, few words about myself. I've been a part of ICAPE Group for 20 years. You are right, and including 10 years being China director in Dongguan, south of China. I'm sure that you know this place because you mentioned Shenzhen previously. That's you know very well, very familiar with. So Dongguan is not very far from Shenzhen, just a 1-hour drive. And also include 7 years me acting as a vice president of America for ICAPE Group. And today, I'm the COO of ICAPE Group and in Hong Kong.
Very good. Excellent. Well, let's start where you were talking about the location where you're at. Kind of wanted to ask you about the COVID situation, how that's impacting Asia, and specifically China, because we all saw the news a while back about the spike in cases, especially, and that Shenzhen had gone under lockdown. Said for a week, and that week should be over, but it would be good to hear kind of what the current situation is relative to the lockdown and COVID over in China.
Well, sure. You know, during the last 2 years, the pandemic has been pretty well controlled by the Chinese government under the zero COVID strategy, you know. Right. However, today, you know, due to the Omicron strain, the pandemic situation in Hong Kong and in mainland China is a little bit heating up. And I think recently there are more than 20 provinces or cities in China have been imposed the travel restrictions and the temporary lockdowns, you know. But however, if you see the numbers of the COVID in Hong Kong and China, is not a big deal. At this moment, in Hong Kong, we have probably, I don't know, 14,000 or 15,000 new cases per day. And compared to the rest of the world, it's not a big dramatic figures. But, you know, the last 2 years, in China and Hong Kong, they almost have a zero COVID, you know. So all of a sudden they see this number. It's a little, so they treat this situation seriously, and that's how, you know, last week I think because just a few new cases in Shenzhen, and they decided to lock down the entire city, and they were performing this mass screening PCR test, etc., etc. So the thing is that they react, the local government react so fast and offer the response so fast, and after 5 days, everything is almost back to normal. And recently, I think last month, and in Beijing, the Chinese president, he stressed to minimize the impact of the pandemic on the country's economy. So I believe this is a very positive news for the business.
Right. Yeah, and let's speak to the business side of it, because you know, China, Hong Kong, that area is still kind of the factory of the world in many ways. So what impact will this unfortunate situation have on global supply chains, do you think?
Well, talking about the global supply chains, over the past 2 years, the entire global supply chain has been facing a huge challenge. And every time that there is something pop up, right? And the last COVID situation in China made everybody a little bit nervous and worried because we see some big cities such as Shenzhen were imposed a 1 week lockdown. So during the lockdown, some of the factories and the shipping ports in those areas has been slowing down due to the restrictions, But good sign is today all the factories resume normal work and production, But however, for the shippings, of course, it could take few more days to recover the cargo flows back to normal, right? So that's why we are seeing a long backlog at the different Shenzhen ports. However, since this Monday, as the border crossing between Shenzhen and Hong Kong is speeding up, and both trucks and the sea barges are running normally. So I guess the situation is getting better each day.
Good. That's good update, and I appreciate that. Thank you. Well, let's speak about the ICAPE group and the impact. Is what's going on? How has that impacted your supply chain for the ICAPE group and your activities?
Sure. Talking about our supply chain in ICAPE group, let's look at the last COVID situation in Shenzhen. Okay, that's where we have our suppliers, our factories locating there. So regarding the production, so during the temporary lockdown in Shenzhen last week, most of our factories has been authorized to keep on the production on site because they are able to run a closed loop. We call it a closed loop on the production campus. It means that the employees and the workers, they move between the production facilities and canteens and the dormitories, so within a closed loop without going out. So this could avoid all the contaminations, and this also allow the production keep on running. So that is most of our factories in Shenzhen, what they do. And however, we have other factories made a choice to relocate their productions and materials to the site unaffected by the restriction, So I think the last week there was no major impact on our production. And then the other part will be the logistics, to avoid the shipping backlog in Shenzhen. So we have activated immediately the other departure ports in the south of China, such as Guangzhou, Jiangmen, etc., etc. Well, so I think overall our ICAPE supply chain remains effective and unaffected. So I believe the impact of this round of epidemic is very limited.
Okay. And I think I read in an announcement that the ICAPE group had made is that of your 80 partner factories, there are only, I think, about 11 or so that were impacted by what had happened in Shenzhen last week or the other day.
Yeah, well, basically, for the circuit, in the ICAPE, we have two major activities. One is the circuit boards, the other is custom-made mechanical part, electronic mechanical parts. So totally, we have 78 major approved vendor in China. So they are also strictly located in different regions and different zones. So in Shenzhen, among these 10 or 11 facilities, just a small part of our AVL approved vendor network.
Okay, very good. Then did you take anything knowing what was happening? How did the ICAPE group respond, and what did you do to avoid the disturbance that you knew was going to hit your business?
Well, as always, ICAPE group, we understand very well how critical to secure the supply chain for our customers,
Mhm.
So this requires an upstream anticipation and also a very fast response on site. So first of all, I think we must secure the production without any disruption, That's why we maintain a worldwide vendor network. So if you can see our approved vendor list, among the ICAPE's approved vendors, the Chinese suppliers are strategically located in different regions and different zones. Also, beside China, ICAPE group, we also have a pool of suppliers in the Southeast Asia and East Europe. A good news that we even have acquired a PCB quick turn shop in South Africa last year. So you can see all these help us to avoid sourcing our products from a single specific area. So that is related to the production. And then talking about logistics, ICAPE group, we have developed several alternative transportation options from different Asian ports to the rest of the world, either by air, sea, or train, We even have, at this moment, we even have the trucking option to cross the Euro-Asia continent.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. The other solution from ICAPE to avoid the delay in the distributions is that we have built, we have built 6 warehouses in Europe and 3 in North and South America and 1 in South Africa. So you can see that this vast warehouse network really allows us to store the products closer to our customers and offer customer a very secure lead time. So simply by a contract, logistic solution contract, no matter it's a VMI, CMI, or safety stock, and simply a phone call or rapid from PO, and the customer can pick up their products from the warehouse just near their location.
Oh, very good. And I wanted to follow up a little bit on that and ask you to elaborate on, and you did that just naturally, the footprint of the PCB fabs that you use, but specifically outside of the China and Southeast Asia, and if you're seeing any trends to establish more elsewhere on the planet, kind of in line with the whole reshoring initiatives that's been going on in the industry. There's been a lot of talk since the pandemic of kind of reshoring, onshoring, regionalization, in many ways. But what's your opinion about how do you see that changing from, because we all know that most of the fabs in the world are still made in China, Southeast Asia. What impact do you think that the pandemic has had, and do you see that changing at all?
Well, that's a good question. Eric, among our approved vendors, I want to say 90% they are Chinese factories in China. However, we always say if you do not have a plan B, you don't have a plan, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So one of our missions to serve better our customers is constantly sourcing new competitive vendors. So at this moment, we have identified several major sourcing locations. Well, the first priority is still to explore China, who has more than 2,000 circuit board manufacturers, and we really want to develop better the suppliers in the inland of China, where the cost is much more competitive than the coast. And then the second location is in Southeast Asia. So including, of course, the country like Thailand, Malaysia, and Viet Nam. Of course, India is also on the table. And then the third and the fourth locations are East Europe and North America for the high-tech boards.
Okay.
And high-tech boards and also the quick turn service.
Mm-hmm.
As I mentioned previously, we even have a PCB quick turn shop in South Africa as well. So, Eric, funny thing is, interesting is that, during the Chinese New Year, we're always nervous about the disrupted of our supplies, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what we do is we immediately activated and our South Africa quick turn shop, and to compensate these 2 weeks empty window from China, and to tell the customers if they need board rapidly, besides China, we have a South Africa solution. So our South Africa factory can produce the boards from 1 day to 5 days, and then deliver to the rest of the world within 24 hours.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah, that's how we build our future sourcing strategy. However, the target of this strategy is not only to looking for the competitive price. The target of this strategy also to find a local and a low carbon emissions solution, because we're the company that who has a strong social responsibilities,
Yeah.
So and also we want to enlarge our panel of vendors to reduce the transportation and the tariff cost. So this sourcing strategy also help us to limit any environmental or geopolitical risks in the future.
Yeah, and as we know from history, those do pop up every now and then, right? those challenges, and I really appreciate that, especially your discussion of both. It's always manufacturing with the logistics, right? With the transportation,
Yeah.
You manage that, because just making it is good, but delivering it is the critical next step, right? So I appreciate your consideration of those in your comments. And also, kind of, as you indicated, the social responsibility of a corporation and the movement that is driving many corporations these days to kind of get cleaner, get better with
exactly. Yeah, this has become one of our main mission in the coming years. Yeah.
Good. Well, Kathy, I appreciate getting the update from you, hearing from somebody really what's happening on the ground over there. This is always very educational for both myself and the audience. So I want to thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Eric, for having me here.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And hopefully we get to do this again sometime and get some updates as the business and all this craziness that's going on in the world and impacting all of us kind of settles down and gets back to whatever normal becomes in the future.
Absolutely. I hope see you in person one day very soon in Asia, Hong Kong or China.
And as I said, I would love to come back. I'm just waiting for the opportunity. So we will make that happen. So
yeah, it's going to be very soon.
Very good. Kathy, appreciate you. It's been a pleasure meeting you today, and I wish you continued success.
Sure. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am.